They say we never truly know someone, that all of us are never actually our authentic selves with anyone, even with our own family members. It is safe to say that we never truly reveal everything we feel or want. Even in the case of husband and wives, there are so many couples who keep secrets from each other, trying their best to conceal so much information from one another. This was one such case where a wife discovered something she did not expect in her husband's clothes. This lady was a quick worker who never failed to do her job as a homemaker. She always made sure the house was spick and span, that it looked presentable. And as she did some housework on a particular day, she felt a sense of satisfaction when she was done with folding. All the clothes had been neatly placed on the bed, but suddenly she noticed something in her husband's shirt. She always made sure that her home was in proper condition, that her husband would come home from work to a nice and comfy home. But that day, when she saw something in her husband's shirt after folding their clothes, this woman felt like a ton of bricks hit her. She immediately knew the reason behind her husband always coming home late. She then grabbed her phone to use it. So, who is this lady who unexpectedly found out a secret of her husband's? Well, her name is Jonah Miller. She lives with her husband David in Leesburg, Indiana. This couple has been in love for a while and soon tied the knot. The two were not married for long as yet, but it was a happy marriage so far. But after a little while, David soon started to come home very late. And for a couple who had not been married that long, it would definitely be a concern for the wife. And so Jonah, upon noticing the change in her husband's behavior, soon grew worried. Since he was not changing his odd timings to coming home, Jonah started to suspect something was wrong, and after a while she got the clarification she wanted when she was not even looking for it. The couple had a very ordinary love story. Yes, David and Jonah began to date all the way back in 2012. Since they were sure that they were meant for each other, the two got engaged after just 1 year. This happened over Thanksgiving dinner, and the Millers were also given another reason to rejoice. They found out that Jonah was 6 months pregnant. It was a baby girl. And Jonah experienced a very healthy pregnancy. She soon gave birth to her little bundle of joy. She was named Delaney, welcoming her in the year 2014. Then, since the good news kept rolling, they then finally tied the knot the following year, and Jonah had no clue that married life was going to be such a task. She did not expect it to be so draining. Jonah was one who loved humor. She was raised in the town of Indiana. She would often joke around, telling everyone that she spent her life telling bad jokes and creating awkward situations. It was all due to this that she began to involve herself in a project during the initial stage of her adult life. Jonah started blogging and made use of her different and sarcastic viewpoints. And since Jonah loved to write and express herself in writing, she was very regular in posting about what she felt about several topics. And since she liked blogging, she made sure to maintain her blog, Real Blunt Blonde, that soon got some attention. It was the delight of thousands of her readers. And so one day, Jonah decided to share something about her husband that left everyone's mouth wide open. No one expected that the lovely couple would have such a different upbringing. Their childhood was a complete contrast from each other. She and her husband's life was very different as kids. Jonah's life was full of frivolity, while David, on the other hand, was raised in an Amish community. He was brought up in the Swiss-German religious sects, where modern technology is not in use. And so Jonah found her husband's quirks to be thoroughly intriguing and adorable. On her blog, she even dedicates one section just for him. And this section was fittingly called, "You Can Take a Man Out of the Amish," but it was clear that Jonah and David had so many topics that they had differing views about. But she also committed that David became well adjusted to his new English lifestyle. And since David was the breadwinner of the family, he was a very busy man who tried his best to earn as much as he could. He had a job at a nearby RV dealership. It took up several hours, and it was indeed a taxing job. Jonah would wait for David, who regularly arrived home very late in the evening. His work was too hectic to come home early most days. And while David was busy at work at the RV dealership, his wife Jonah was a stay-at-home mom. However, Jonah always found a nice and productive way to kill time. She maintained her house and was also posting regularly on her online site. Since they had not been married for a long while, she revealed in her blog that she often felt isolated and insecure. And so, since her husband's work was demanding more and more time, Jonah was feeling unhappy as each day went by. And by the time 2015 came, she was not pleased with the little time David had for her. So after a very tiring day, Jonah poured out all her feelings on her blog. "I'm married to a hardworking man, and I would be lying if I said that it didn't take a toll on me." Jonah was not happy with how her husband's priorities were not set on his family, her and their daughter. She opened up on her blog, explaining that sometimes he will come home after a long day at work, and I'll be waiting for him to walk in the door, so I can yell, "You promised me you would be home at 5, as if he would rather be working than spend time with me and our daughter. Jonah was not holding back on how disappointed she was with her husband's time management. She wrote some more on her blog. "I'm putting him in a lose-lose situation. He literally can't win. If he doesn't work late, we won't get the new furniture set I have to have. If he does work late, he comes home to a nagging wife who is desperate for his attention." The poor wife was just expressing how she felt a little neglected in their marriage, that she just wanted some time with David also. She went on writing, "I'm so selfish in our marriage, and I know that, but every once in a while I'll have my little aha moments that give me a sense of understanding." But Jonah would soon get a sense of what was really going on with her husband. And so on a Wednesday, David was once again late, and so he did not come home by the time he claimed he would be back. And so Jonah kept the dinner for him in the fridge and closed the fridge door forcefully as she was angry. She was done with his unreliable timings. When the dryer alarm rang, which meant she had to go and fold the warm clothes, it was quite therapeutic for her. And then, as she finished folding, Joanna's mind was racing as to why all this was happening to her. She could not understand why her husband was not putting in effort to spend time with her. She thought to herself, "Why does he not want to spend time with me?" And then her eyes caught something on David's clothes. She was left astonished by the truth of it all. As she was sitting on the bed, she was done with folding the clean laundry. She then stacked all the warm clothes into 2 piles. One was hers and the other was David's. She was not even looking for reasons, but was about to uncover the truth about David. She was not even aware that it had been staring at her in the face this whole time. Jonah had indeed been unhappy for a long while now, as her dear husband David never took the effort to spend some quality time with her and their baby girl. When she was done with the laundry, Jonah glanced from one pile to the other. She could see that David's clothes were comparatively different from hers. She then made a discovery that flipped her whole notion of their marriage. As Jonah stared at the clothes lying on the bed, she began sensing a change in her heart. She shared her life-changing discovery with her readers. She posted about her experience on her blog, questioning herself, "Why did my clothes look so vibrant, clean, and new? His were dingy, stained, and torn." She clearly saw the difference in how their clothes looked. So it was then that Jonah finally learned something important. David's wife Jonah now understood that the real reason why her husband was behaving that way, why he was not with her all these days. David was such a hard worker who went to work every day to provide for Jonah and their precious baby girl, and David had to put in all those extra hours to earn enough to provide whatever his wife and kid needed. And it was at that very moment that Jonah began to appreciate her husband so much more. She finally understood the reason why he was always absent at home. "This man provided more than I deserve. If I tell him I want something, very seldom will he tell me no," she revealed to her readers. Then Jonah felt some other emotions that took over her whole being. And while Jonah had been complaining about why David was never around, she soon realized the beautiful reason why. She could see clearly that her husband was making do with all his washed out and torn clothes while he provided Jonah with the best and most expensive ones. The guilt intensified inside Jonah's heart, and so tears began to fall from her eyes. Jonah was letting it all out on her blog, as she wanted all her readers to understand how generous and loving David truly was. "I get spoiled with the fruits of his labor, and he is okay with a pair of torn boxer briefs. I was acting as if he was out partying with his friends, but his laundry told a completely different story," she added on the post she made about her hubby. She also learned a valuable thing about her husband, that he never complained. She was moved to tears after finding out that David would never complain or express any resentment towards her. She was touched upon realizing what a patient and giving person she got married to. His heart is full when he walks in through the door, and our daughter runs for him excitedly, yelling "Dada." And so, after the incident with the clothes, Jonah finally learned her lesson. Her life-changing realization made her come up with a resolution. She would now strive to grow to be a better partner for David. Even if David would come home late from work, she would stop fussing about it. She now understood the kind of sacrifices he makes for her, so she appreciated him so much more now. As Jonah was not speaking about herself on the blog, she also wanted to give advice to her readers. Jonah wanted to encourage her readers to always be thoughtful and think twice before giving in to their feelings of anger toward anyone in their life. She explains that those people might be hard-working folks just like her husband, so it would be better to clarify everything before resorting to any bitter feelings. Jonah was now convinced that there was nothing to worry or complain about her husband. She discovered just how selfless he was, and so she appreciated him more than ever. She explained the kind of love he showers her with. Sure, I miss him and want to spend time with him throughout the week, but I have realized he's offering me the most beautiful form of love there is. The unhappy wife now turned into the most appreciating wife ever. Jonah was now all praises for David, her busy hubby. He works to give our family everything we need. He works so his wife and daughter don't go without, even though there are times I'm sure he does, she revealed on her blog. He was not at all snooping behind her back or keeping secrets from her. This was just an important incident for Jonah. Her experience was a random one, where she observed something meaningful. This eventually led Jonah to admit something about the previous feelings that she had towards her husband. She felt loneliness and resentment towards David, which she in due time discovered were completely meaningless. Jonah was happy to learn the truth behind her husband's perpetual absence in their house. Since she knew that this lesson was something to be shared, Jonah wanted to hand out much-needed advice to the readers of her blog. If you have a hardworking man in your life and you can't comprehend how much he loves you, do his laundry. And as expected, Jonah's post about her husband was well received by her followers. Since she spoke from the heart, the people reading the post were quite touched. The update on her blog spoke volumes to loads of people who were her readers. There was one particular commenter who had a lot to say. "This is an amazing reminder," it first read. The comment went on, "I used to stay home with our daughters when they were little, and I used to feel horrible doing the same thing. This is an awesome perspective to carry. Since Jonah was a stay-at-home mother, her story obviously reflected on so many others just like her. It was a common feeling that she and a lot of other homemakers share. Since the post gained a lot of attention and appreciation, it was obvious that she was not going to stop just yet. So Jonah continued to regularly update her blog even though her life was extremely hectic as a parent. With her blog, Real Blunt Blonde, Jonah is able to post several witty and at times humorous posts that she observes about life and her family. And since she was so in love with David, it was clear that he would be one of the main topics she writes about. So many of Jonah's posts are of David's Amish background. Since she had her way with words, she had found a way to pique the interest of her readers to want to know more about his upbringing. The followers of her blog had definitely resulted in the interest of the Amish culture to grow. And as we mentioned earlier, Jonah has a few topics she regularly posts about, but her "I'm not Amish but my husband is" among the more popular ones from Jonah's blog posts. This is where she addressed her relationship with David, about how they make their relationship work. Jonah regularly writes about the significant incidents of their life as a couple, like the time she first met his parents. Since she was also among the people who do not know much about the Amish culture, she had a lot to say. She would write about her preconceived notions and how miseducated she had been about David's roots. Because she was in love with one, Jonah slowly became more aware of how Amish people exist. She would occasionally make fun of herself and speak about her misconceptions hilariously. There is also one other thing that Jonah also writes passionately about. Another topic that she feels strongly about is motherhood. She spoke in detail about the time she was first pregnant with her baby and the lessons she has learned after welcoming baby Delaney. Jonah had also revealed her battle with terrible twos in 2016, which took place due to the rebellious nature of her daughter. If there is one thing that we should all learn from Jonah, it is that we should always be quick to correct our flaws and always take on life's challenges with a sense of humor. She titled the topic about her experience with Delaney. "I graduated at the University of Toddlertown and majored in defeat." She never lost her humor and wit, so it is safe to say that Jonah will always find something to smile about, even during the hardest of times.